Bim, what's up folks, Nicholas Sunder here. Video number 15, going to be talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in this one, which is not my typical subject material, a little bit out of the typical lane today, but I've been investing or speculating in cryptocurrencies for the last 7 years or so and have had some pretty considerable returns. So we're in the middle of a bull run at the moment. Thought it was a good time to put a video out about the topic. So I want to talk about some of the more philosophical aspects of why I think people are interested in cryptocurrency, and then my thoughts on whether or not you should invest in cryptocurrency today. So to start with, I'm going to describe what a cryptocurrency is, which can get pretty technical, but I'm not going to get into the weeds too much because that's kind of beyond my level of understanding. But what is a cryptocurrency? So it's basically a completely digital ledger of transactions in a network where the computers in the network, multiple computers, have an exact same copy of the ledger. Okay, so unlike your traditional government money where, yes, it is very much digital these days, but there is a physical representation of the money, notes and coins and that sort of thing. That's the first thing. Cryptocurrency is completely digital. The ledger that all the transactions and balances live on is called a blockchain. And this is a particular design where, these transactions are sort of structured in a block, which is connected to the previous block of transactions. And like I was saying, distributed through multiple computers in the network, exact copies. And the fact that they've got exact copies means that changes or fraudulent changes can be cross-checked against other copies. So it's a security mechanism, which is the first interesting feature about these cryptocurrencies, because it creates a way of securing the blockchain without a centralized party. Okay. Second feature is in regards to the way people are incentivized to process the transactions. Okay, the people that process the transactions on the blockchain, on the cryptocurrency, are called miners, right? They get rewarded for processing with some of the cryptocurrency. That's their reward. Now, the miners are going to all want to get that reward, right? So they have to compete for it, and they compete by trying to solve a cryptographic problem, hence the name cryptocurrency. Okay, so the ones that can solve the cryptographic problem first get the opportunity to process a transaction and get the reward. All right. The interesting thing about this, which is designed into the cryptocurrency, is that as more and more miners start competing for that reward, the difficulty of solving the problem gets harder and harder, which means you need more processing power, more energy, and it becomes less economically viable for some miners, so they'll drop out. Whereas the opposite happens when there aren't many miners competing for the reward. It becomes easier and easier and more economically viable. So then more miners will come in and start competing for the reward. So it's this self-correcting mechanism that's designed into the cryptocurrency which is quite remarkable to manage the mining activity without a third party like a bank, right? So this is why it's kind of ingenious. You've got this security built in to the design and this way of incentivizing people to process the transactions, and it's all decentralized, so you don't need a bank. Now, the other cool feature that can be designed into cryptocurrencies, it doesn't have to be, but it is in the case of Bitcoin, is that there's a limited supply. Okay, so with Bitcoin, there's a limited supply of 21 million. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins released. And this means that the currency is not inflationary. It's inherently deflationary, right? So for all the money history nerds who are aware that money used to be backed by gold, and currently isn't backed by anything, and can be printed at the discretion of central banks, this is probably a welcome feature. because it means that the debasement of our currency that's happening every day, which means that if you have money in the bank, it's losing value every day, would no longer happen, would no longer occur. And this is particularly, I mean, when you combine these features together, it's particularly attractive for people in developing countries where they may have hyperinflation. They're too, they're not getting any access to banking. They might not have enough money, or whatever the case may be. There's something like 1 billion plus people that don't have access to banking. So places like this, cryptocurrencies could be particularly attractive. You're talking about Zimbabwe, you're talking about Venezuela, these sort of countries, Lebanon maybe, anywhere where there's crazy inflation. Those are some of the benefits of cryptocurrency. And another one, you can divide cryptocurrency into very small portions. So one Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million portions called Satoshis, which makes it very flexible to transact with. Okay, so they're the benefits. Now, there's a couple of downsides I wanted to talk about. So the first one is there's a scalability issue that's spoken about in cryptocurrency. This is basically the fact that the processing speed is slow, right? With Bitcoin, the maximum number of transactions per second is something like 8. Okay, Ethereum, it was roughly double that, but then they changed to proof of stake, which I believe has increased the amount of transactions that they can put through, and then there's other technologies that they build on top to solve that problem. But yeah, they typically refer to them as layer 2 solutions. So with Bitcoin, in order to do more than 8 transactions per second, they need a layer 2 solution. I think the front runner for this currently is the Lightning Network. But yeah, I'm not across those technologies particularly well myself, so I won't talk about them. But that is an issue that I don't think has been completely solved. And then there's also the power usage issue with Bitcoin. It uses a lot of power. I think this is probably a free market concern. You leave it to the free market. People will vote with their dollars as to what they want. If Bitcoin is something that they think is worth the energy, then they will vote with their money. So that's my opinion. And then you go on, whatever people decide to use their energy on, then you go and produce it in a more efficient manner if you can. But yeah, that is a concern for a lot of people, the energy usage. Okay, so that's a little bit of an overview of the pros and cons of cryptocurrency, my understanding of them. And that was definitely not an exhaustive list. But yeah, you can go and do your research, and there's people that really know their stuff that you can refer to. Now, should you invest in cryptocurrency today? Right, that's probably the big question. And I'm going to preface this by firstly saying the boring part, which is you should invest in line with your risk tolerance. Cryptocurrency is super volatile, so you should allocate a percentage of your portfolio that reflects your risk tolerance. Okay, so don't overexpose yourself to an asset that literally from the last peak of the bull run to the recent trough of the bear market, there was an 80% drop. Okay, so that's a massive drop, and that most people wouldn't be able to stomach and would sell on the way down, unfortunately, a lot of the time. Now, right now, we are in the heat of a bull market, but there's probably a fair bit more to go. It's impossible to know exactly where the price is going to end up. If I had to guess, I'd be thinking 150 to 250K USD. And right now, as I shoot this video, it's about 62K USD. So you could potentially more than double your money if things go the way I hope they will. And I don't know if they will. You can never predict the future, but I'm optimistic, and that's my thoughts. If you were planning on purchasing some Bitcoin and holding it for the next 5-10 years, I think you'd do reasonably fine. You wouldn't have to worry about timing markets too much. Probably maybe let's say 10 years, because you'd get through a couple of cycles in 10 years. So you do relatively well. I talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as two sort of distinct Like, I don't necessarily, even though Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, I don't necessarily group it in with other cryptocurrencies. I think Bitcoin has proven its use case as a store of value and a hedge against inflation, and all the other cryptocurrencies are basically completely speculative, and we don't know if they'll be here tomorrow. We don't 100% know that Bitcoin will be here tomorrow or how long it will be around for. But I think even if we can never use it as a form of exchange, as a money, we can still invest in it like the way people invest in gold. So that's why my personal opinion is that of quite a bit of confidence in Bitcoin relative to other cryptocurrencies. But if history repeats itself, like in other bull runs, it's the altcoins that will give you the biggest return going into this next bull run. Usually Bitcoin pumps, and then when Bitcoin slows down, the altcoins have that last push, and then it goes into the bear market again. So that's typically what's happened. So I won't say whether you should buy or not, but that's where I think we're at the moment, and my thoughts more broadly on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So hopefully that was insightful.